people like doing is making things like they love buzzwords, they love KPIs and this and that and all those other nonsense. But what we do is we really just look at the numbers. We found that we lose about 50% of our orders when we start, raising the price, but the sales numbers are kind of like the same. The truth is, people think that Facebook is responsible for your sales when it's really your offer that's responsible for your sales. And everybody wants to blame Facebook. It's not Facebook's fault that you don't know how to sell your product.
So on today's episode, I'll be talking about simplifying the fundamentals of e-commerce growth. It's a great episode you do not want to miss, so do stay tuned. Hey, welcome to the 2X e-commerce podcast show. I am your host, Kunle Campbell, and the 2X e-commerce podcast show is dedicated to digital commerce insights for retail and e-commerce teams. Each week on this podcast, we interview either a commerce expert or a founder of a digital native brand or a representative from a best-in-class commerce SaaS product. We give them a very tight remit to allow you get ideas that you could test right away on your brand, so you can improve commerce growth metrics such as conversions, average order value, repeat customers, your audience size, and ultimately your gross merchant value or sales. We are here to help you sell more sustainably. That is our remit. That's why I turn up every week, every Thursday, to give you the juice, essentially. Now, speaking of which, I interviewed a very special podcaster, fellow podcaster, e-commerce podcaster. So not just a podcaster, but an e-commerce podcaster called Jason Caruso. I actually met him a few years back in 2019. The last time I was in Boston for the Klaviyo Boston. It was a conference. Klaviyo BOS. And we just got talking in the podcasting booth. If you remember, if you recall, I recorded a few episodes live at the podcast, and then we published on this particular channel. You could go way back. We didn't get to record at the time, but we said, look, let's do something at some point. And in in 3 years after, so 2020, 21, and 22, we decided to hook up, and he has a lot to share, and we really just trying to get to the fundamentals, and what his thesis essentially is, if you're building 10 million plus e-commerce business, there's some fundamentals. They're just some fundamentals. If you're trying to go from 0 to 10 million, don't overcomplicate things. That's what he's trying to say. Simplify things, the fundamentals. Look at things like just don't look at conversions. Look at also micro conversions, and then build out funnels. Just communicate very effectively with your customers to essentially get them to convert eventually via email. He doesn't go too tactical. It's really a very strategic view for founders to kind of understand the fundamentals from copywriting, Facebook ads, and email marketing, as well as the astronomical rise of TikTok as we speak, right now. And that's it, really. He has a lot to say. He himself, he's a co-founder at one or two e-commerce startups, and then they consult quite a lot. He used to live in New York, and he's moved to a southern state right now. And very, very interesting in terms of the insights he came he shared in this podcast. So now, why should you listen to this episode? Well, if you are trying to figure out growth from 0 to 5 or 10 million, or if you're stuck at a GMV of a million or so US dollars, and you're trying to break through and trying to figure stuff out further down the line. Interesting conversation for sure. And just generally, if you want to know what's essentially how to sort of stack your performance and your organic and your email it's really for marketing, less operational. You're not going to get any finance advice. You're not going to get any, operational. You're not going to get any supply chain. This one is really just marketing, in the 7-figure range. So if that floats your boat, definitely give this one a listen. But for now, I shall leave you to a little short, quick message from our sponsors, and then you get into the interview. Do have a good one, and cheers. Hey Jason, it's wonderful, having you on the 2x e-commerce podcast. It's been ages. I think you were in Klaviyo BOS in, when was it, September 2019?
Yeah, man, I
Must have
think it
been, right?
was. We were recording together at Klaviyo Boston, and our meetup was kind of brief, but I remember us hitting it off pretty well. It's always nice to talk with other people doing what you're doing, just to kind of bounce ideas
Mm-hmm.
off. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember distinctly that Kevin and I, after speaking to you, because I think at that time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you were like 7 years at that point into podcasting.
No, I will be 7 years, 7 or 8 years now, I think, because
Okay, so it was like
if my
five or
math's not
six.
correct, yeah, it must have been 5 or 6. If my math's correct, we started out November 2014. You're right,
Okay,
actually. 14
okay,
to 19, 4 - 9 is 5 years. But in at that point, I'll say we really properly started this podcast in 2015.
yeah.
So it's 4 years then. It's still a while, though. Still been a while. But it's been. How about you guys? How long you're host of e-commerce Uncensored with Kevin, your partner. So how long have you guys been podcasting for?
Yeah, so we've been doing it for about 5 years. And I,
Wow.
I just remember talking to you, and Kevin and I looked at each other like, wow, he's been doing it for that freaking long. I mean, and because I remember us asking you, like, do you have any sponsors? Like, because we were kind of like green at the time. We didn't know what to expect. And so we were like,
Yeah.
I was asking you all these questions. I just remember Kevin and I talking, and we're like, my Lord, he's been doing it for a long time. So it was awesome. We really enjoyed meeting you.
Likewise. I'm an introvert, and this is the best thing for an introvert to be honest. Just meeting, people, on a weekly basis. Right. I know you have a phenomenal backstory. And I would love you to share your backstory with the audience. Where shall we start? How far back should we go prior to e-commerce? What got you into e-commerce?
Oh man. So back I've been doing this probably for about 17, 18 years. And I think like everybody else, I grew up, well, not everybody else, but I grew up believing that I was going to create this laptop business, back in the like early 2000s, late, whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
like 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002, when blogging really became like this thing, like everybody was going to live on the beach. Um
The
Obviously,
poor
that's not how.
work.
Right. Um, so I actually had a business at that time that was offline, and I started running ads on Google, and I had like $5,000, and I remember saying like, "All right, let me spend this money on my business. I try to get some phone calls. Well, I spent $5,000 in one day and did not get a phone call.
Ouch. Okay.
Yeah, it hurt at that time.
Yeah.
But the interesting part was that it really, like, my curiosity, like, it just piqued it, because I was like, how the hell did this just happen? Like, how did I spend $5,000? Long story short, I realized that there's whole other side of the business, whether it be, tracking the click, or building, like, at that time, like, conversion optimization was like a big thing,
Mhm.
conversion optimization, like doing like landing pages and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
From there, I started a. I'm just fast forwarding. I'm trying to give you like a quick
No,
version
no,
of it.
no worries, no worries.
Uh,
I'm all ears.
I failed several times after that. I've built blogs, failed. Long story short, I started a baking blog with a professional pastry chef.
Mm.
Um, and that blog went from zero to $20,000 a month. Um, with a baking blog. Like, it wasn't even like how do you sell things for a baking blog? What we did, like, we were selling ebooks. We were doing we had a YouTube channel. So anything that my partner would use on camera. Like we had probably like 200,000 subscribers, a million views a month.
Hmm.
Um, and we would like anything that she would use in the videos, we would have people come by on the website or the blog at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Her and I had a falling out. Um, that was a bad falling out actually. And then I started working for Kevin, who is now my partner, and he had an agency, and the agency was like a graphic design agency. You can imagine 7 years ago, graphic design was kind of,
It's
it was
going
the, yeah,
detrending.
detrending, and the money couldn't really make the money anymore. So he hired me for marketing because I went through that bad breakup with my other
Mm-hmm.
partner. And then from there, I just started bringing clients in. Um, and I said to him one day, I'm like, hey man, like I got to talk to you. Either he's like, what's up? I said, either I got to be a partner or I'm leaving. He's like, what do you mean? We just built this
Fair enough.
amazing like agency. Uh, so nevertheless, he brought me in as a partner. From there, we started the podcast. We started the podcast originally to try to bring in clients for our agency,
Mm.
and then we quickly realized that this platform, this podcast medium, it's a long game, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not for the faint of heart, right? This
No,
is like the audio version of a blog, really,
pretty
right?
much exactly. And you have to turn up every day. You have to turn up and turn up and turn up.
Right. So we started this podcast. Now, what was pretty interesting about it was that we decided, because Kevin and I have this relationship like brothers where we fight a lot, and we would get on the podcast and we're like, we're just going to talk about what we're going through in our agency, and people are probably
Mm.
going through the same thing. So that's what we did. We got on we got some microphones, we got some cameras, and all we did was just kind of like talk about what we're going through. A lot of times that
Mm.
would turn into us like bickering at each other. The podcast grew really quickly. Now we didn't know that, but when you look at like the numbers and you look at like what the numbers we're getting and the numbers that are supposedly pretty good, we're at the higher end of that for a B2B type
Mm-hmm.
podcast, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of gone from there. Now we have several businesses. We have an agency. We have a multi-million dollar magazine that we own. We just started a golf business. We have the agency. We have a lot of things going on. So that's kind of that's kind of like my backstory. I'm sorry for the extended version, but I think that,
I love it. I love it. I love it. And it's important to get some context of where you're coming from and why you do what you do. I think it's no matter how long it takes, it's so important. So break down the business. You have the agency. You work with very select e-commerce businesses, I would think. You also have the website called Journal of Wildlife Photography.com. At the moment, you sell an annual subscription for about $100, and then lifetime subscription for about 300. It's magazines, digital magazines, which I believe you publish 4 times a year, but it's just high quality academic level wildlife photography. You've got a huge audience, and you're milking it essentially with it's a JV, right? um with all of this, all that's happening, which is quite a lot, what do you think have been the most significant changes in e-commerce in the last 2 years with COVID and everything?
yeah, that's a really interesting question, and I think about this a lot because I do see a lot of changes. I mean, aside from COVID, aside from Facebook or Apple with the 14, the iOS 14 update, I think that has also played a huge part in the changes that we're seeing, because I think people were so bullish on Facebook, and Facebook has gone through like this sort of evolution, right? Like when Facebook came out, everybody was like, couldn't wait to get on it. It was like the end of the world to market on it. Everybody thought they were going to get rich. Then they realized it was like harder than they thought. So it like kind of got rid of some of the people who were kind of posing. And then like this iOS thing came out, and I think that it really distracted people even more. and I think people are kind of trying to figure out where they're plugging that hole. Some people are using YouTube, some are using TikTok, some are using, Pinterest or whatever. But what I think that I've seen, and it's a really crazy, crazy shift, and maybe not a shift, but I've been hearing probably for 10 years that email is going to die. And social media is going to kill email. No one's going to need email anymore. We're actually we're seeing quite the opposite, actually. So we're going really, excuse me, we're going really bullish on email even more. Like, even with you know, supply chain issues are like a big problem right now, especially with physical products, right? One of our clients right now, and we could talk about this, or we're going to talk about this. When they started working with us 3 years ago, they were doing about 1.5 million. Fast forward 3 years, they're going to be doing close to 10 million this year. Now, it's going to be a little bit tight.
10x.
Yeah, 10x. It's going to be a little tight though with COVID, because they can't manufacture the product as fast.
What do they sell?
They sell. I don't want to get specific, only because I don't think I could talk about their revenue, but they sell like a hair dryer type thing.
Okay.
And I just don't want to. I don't mind normally talking about it, but because I gave specific numbers, I don't want to. But they have this hair dryer, and it's specifically for type 3 and type 4 hair people.
Okay.
Right. Men and women, actually. And the interesting thing is that, I mean, during COVID, it actually boosted their sales significantly because people couldn't go to the hairdresser anymore. So this device actually allows you to get the same results that you would at a hair salon, but like at home. So it really helped, actually, COVID for that particular brand. But email, I'm seeing being really pivotal in our success right now. And a lot of it is because you can track not so much, it doesn't change the iOS thing, because the iOS problem is still is also affecting email, but you don't need any reporting to see how many people are coming on your email list. So, for instance, I'm running ads on Facebook. I'm spending thousands of dollars, and people are freaking out because they can't track what's happening. But what we're doing is we're putting people on an email list, and I don't need to track anything because I can just see how many people are signing up to my list every day.
Exactly. As a micro conversion, essentially, and then you funnel them through to eventual sales, right?
Yeah, I mean, because, I think that as we start seeing these distractions kind of happening more often with the new TikToks of the world and all these other things that are happening, cross-platform pollination, so to speak, was causing a lot of problems with tracking anyway. Like, how do you track a sale that the person saw you on Facebook, then on TikTok, and then purchased from TikTok? Like, who do you give credit to? Or someone came on your email list from Facebook, and then they went to TikTok, and then they went to YouTube, and then they bought from the email. Like, who do you give credit to? So it was always it was getting more difficult to track anyway. And Kevin and I have been preaching this to our clients, and it's been very difficult for them to understand this concept. But we're telling our clients, like, look, stop worrying about what Facebook does or what Google does or what YouTube does. Let's look at this as a pie. Let's look at it like as a whole and say, are we making more than we're spending? So Oh,
Yeah.
we're spending $1 million a year. Are we making more than $1 million back in profit?
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
can do that, you don't have to worry so much about what every single platform is doing.
Yeah. And that really is like your marketing efficiency ratio, where you look at ad spend and you look at sales, and you obviously measure that ratio, but you're also looking at your sales velocity. Where what's the trajectory of sales if we were to compare year on year? Are we panning well based on what we're spending? Fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff. Um, in regards to like consumer behavior, do you think COVID has change the way people shop online, particularly because we're speaking to e-commerce? Are you seeing any seismic changes? Have people returned to their pre-COVID habits, or are some habits here to stay? What has been your experience?
It's interesting because I, for a really long time, have uh, have used blanket statements like like that question requires, and have found that when I do that, there are these little outliers, or there are these um things that kind of go against what I what I what I think is happening, because it really, what I'm seeing is like, it just depends on the industry. It depends on what you're selling. It depends on what the need is. Like toilet paper during COVID. Like, could anyone tell you why that happened? I mean, no one even knows to this day why toilet paper was a thing, right? But if you ask the guys who are selling toilet paper online, they're going to tell you that, yeah, the buying pattern or behavior has changed, right? People need toilet paper for some reason now. So I think it just depends, because I've seen some buying behaviors go one way for one company or one niche or one product, and I've seen it go the
Mm.
other way with another. So I don't want to. I feel like sometimes the quote unquote gurus give advice to people that tend to be blanket statements that I've seen kind of fall apart with in other scenarios. So,
Mm.
I'm sorry that wasn't a direct answer to your question, but it's like the best answer I can give, because I'm not seeing the same thing across the board. I think I'm just seeing different things.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that there are always going to be exceptions to a rule. And what I'm trying to get to is specifically to with COVID, with most of the data, store data I'm privy to, over with the stimulus checks in the US. We had something similar in the UK. We had the government pay salaries. It was a percentage, like 80% of salaries. And that led to, along with the fact that retail was shot, that led to like a spike. It was an unprecedented spike in e-commerce sales over that period. And at the time, Facebook hadn't even sort of applied the ATT, the app, transparency tracking issue with iOS 14. And so we were seeing ridiculous return on advertising spend. Facebook was reporting at that time, their reporting was a lot more accurate than what it is now. And then general sales and marketing efficiency ratios were like high, sky high. And in more recent months, I'd say in the last 6 months, it's almost like it's been a clawback in which things are stabilizing. And I'm talking for the middle, for the 50th percentile of stores, of e-commerce brands, out there, particularly direct to consumer, brands. And it's been particularly this year, and obviously Q1 is hardly a good time for e-commerce in most industries. But what I'm trying to get to is, if you think people, demographics that were not necessarily very receptive to e-commerce, are opening up. So I would say the 60 plus, and also new shoppers. That they're emerging new shoppers. You have these Gen Z, 18, 19, 20-year olds who are pretty much new shoppers. I mean, my 11-year-old son actually shops online now. He has an eBay account. He shops on his mom's Amazon. But yeah, it's just really seeing your perspective on are you bullish on e-commerce over the rest of the year? Things are changing. There's inflation now,
Yeah,
so.
and that's what I was trying to get at. Like, I have 5 businesses, right?
Mhm,
And then I have clients that I work with. And so I agree with you. There has been in some niches, or in some you know, some brands have seen that. They have seen spikes like that. I could tell you the wildlife photography business that I own, it actually went the other way. At first, people couldn't leave their house, so they wanted to read the magazine, right?
mhm,
Then people started losing their jobs, and we got a lot of emails saying, like, I lost my job, I can't afford to pay the $100 a year anymore. So that particular brand, it it was kind of like, up and down. Then one of our clients, the one that we were talking about, who's going to do about, 10 million this year, about, um they saw a gigantic spike because people couldn't go to the salons anymore,
mhm.
and people were taking that money that they were using for their hair in the salons, and they were just putting it
Yeah,
towards the device.
disposable. Mm,
They're disposable, right? Exactly. So I also, another thing that we haven't really quite talked about, or another thing that plays into that, is supply chain issues. So, like, this brand that I keep talking about, we had to go out of stock like several times because we couldn't get something from China, I believe.
mm,
Right? So um we went out of stock, and our email list, we would put on there, like, give us your email and we'll let you know when we're back in stock. I mean, we were getting
mm,
thousands of people every single day signing up for that
mm,
because um they needed this product during COVID because they couldn't get their hair done. So I'm seeing it like all over the place, and I personally couldn't say that I see it across the board with the brands that I'm working with. I have another product, um, another client of mine who has like a constipation product.
mhm,
Um, we haven't seen any change with them, good or bad. Just been kind of
mm.
like the same. Um, you know, I just started a golf business. That thing literally is a few weeks old, and I have people buying that product already. I mean, and then I just launched it like two or 3 weeks ago.
Is it a physical or a digital product?
This is a digital. It's a digital
Mm,
product. Yeah, I don't know if
mm,
that means anything. I mean, I'm finding that when you talk to people and you say e-commerce, I think guys like you and I think of physical stuff,
mhm,
but I don't know if the rest of the world looks at it like that. I could tell you that my partner with the wildlife photography business was listening to my podcast, which is eCommerce
mhm,
Uncensored. He was listening to the podcast because he thought he had an e-commerce product when it was
mhm.
just a digital magazine. I would never say a digital magazine is e-commerce, but I guess if you think about it, you're selling something. So I mean, I don't
It's
I don't really know.
transactional. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know
it's
where
there's
that
a
line
conversion.
is.
Yeah,
Right.
it's transactional. There's a conversion. There's a cart. There's a checkout. The sort. So it would qualify. It would definitely. I mean, some there's some classifications of e-commerce as travel. So sometimes you'd find that these big data aggregators would say these are e-commerce sales excluding travel or including travel because that there's a checkout. Okay, so I'd really love to speak to the hairdryer business. Obviously, you're not going to mention the brand name. So again, just linking it to my prior question around like consumer behavior. Um, Obviously, they're growing as a business. So what I'm trying to extrapolate from here is with COVID, um, some people are still not going to the salons, or there's still this appetite to for self care. rather than going into a salon to get their head done, because it is growing essentially. Is that the case?
Actually, you know what's even it's actually even more interesting than that.
Mm,
We heard a lot of people saying that they can't go to the salon to get their hair done and they're on Zoom calls all day with work and they
mm,
need to look like they want to look good
got it.
because they're on with 40 people or 30
Mm,
people or with the company. And that was something that we didn't really even think about. Like they
mm,
were like we heard that a lot. Like, look, I'm on Zoom calls all day. I need to do my hair, you know. So I think that that was pretty interesting. I mean, I really would have never even thought about that, even though it seems pretty obvious, you know. So I think
So
from that standpoint, it was helping the business because people couldn't go to the salons. Then
mm,
people still wanted to look good because they're on Zoom. It's not like because
mhm,
like people are staying home, but they're communicating on
mm.
Zoom with the
So
company.
so
So
so so the work from home or hybrid working macro trend seems to be triggering the appetite and demand for products people can use, to look the part for their meetings, for their Zoom meetings, which is phenomenal, which is very, very interesting as an insight. Right. Okay. So listeners, I think listeners are probably have this at the back of their minds right now. They're like, "How, Jason and Kevin? How did you, in 3 years, grow a brand that was, generating 1.5 million, US in revenue, to now that's on track to generate about 10 million? So it's almost 10x this brand. So if you were to do it again in 2022 with a view to growing a $1 million brand to 10 million in 2025, what would the plan look like? Would it change from what you did, what you've done in the last 3 years with them?
no, it wouldn't actually.
I like that.
Yeah,
so
it would.
so it's so it's repeatable. It's testable, right? It's
Well,
applicable.
so obviously, like, I don't want to get on here and talk about how great I am. That's not the purpose of this. But I will say that, the wildlife photography business when we started was at zero. And in a year, it got to 2 million. This company was doing 1.5, and now we're going to be close to 10. Um, and I could tell you, like people tend to overcomplicate this game, and we tend to stick to just the basics. What people like doing is making things like they love buzzwords, they love KPIs and this and that and all those other nonsense. But what we do is we really just look at the numbers and we look at what's happening and we try to determine um by what the numbers are telling us, we try to determine uh how to use those numbers to make us move forward. And I'll give you an example because it's very hard to explain. So when they first came to us, their device was $399. We found that when we were running Facebook ads, it was very difficult to get people who didn't know the brand to buy the device at $399. So then we would run these offers. So, like, let's say an Easter offer or a Christmas offer, or in the US, a 4th of July offer, whatever. We would run an offer and we would take $100 off and bring it down to $299. The minute that we did that, the device flew off the shelves, off the shelf. We got a lot of resistance from the CEO about selling it at $299 because, like most business owners, they fall in love with their product, and then they fall in love with their perceived value of the product. So he invented this product and he didn't want to sell it for under $399. Um, on top of that, it was very expensive to make. It was whatever, 160 something dollars to make, right? So it was really expensive. He had to kind of make the margin up. So early on, what Kevin and I did was I remember this just like really, really like it was yesterday. Kevin and I were talking like we just have to tell the owner like that, like it has to be at 299. Like there's no question about it. It has to be at 299. Now let's figure out how we can make 299 work, right? So what people do is they're like, "Oh my god, I got to take $100 off my retail price. I'm not going to make any money." Like, no, no, no. No, no. You're making it more attractive by taking the $100 off. Now let's figure out how to bring that average order value up. My point is that we don't have any preconceived notions of what things need to be. We let the data tell us and then we exploit those things. So we saw 299 was flying off the shelves. We found a way to make 299 work, right? And that was, an upsell or an order bump or packaging more stuff and then bringing it up to 399. So like let's say we have a device, then we give them like 5 other products that don't really cost us much, but it brings that perceived value up. So we tend to look at the numbers and try to exploit the things that are working and we ignore the things that aren't. So that's kind of how we kind of look at these things is like we look at the numbers, we see if they're telling us anything. And by the way, it's what we did with the Journal of Wildlife Photography. When our business partner came to us, he had this business and it was making $200 a month. Like he couldn't sell it to anybody. But I saw that he was making sales with a website that I couldn't even figure out how to place an order with. So I went back to Kevin and said, "Look, man, like this guy's making sales, even though it's not a lot. I mean, $200 a month. He's making sales with something that shouldn't be making sales. So I think we need to get in on this and blow this thing up." So we did the same thing with that. We looked at the numbers. We try to see if there's anything that stands out to us, and if there is, we exploit it. And that's basically what we did. We went big. We saw something working, and we went big. And that's really all scaling is. Everybody wants to talk about like scaling being this like, really all it is just doing what you're doing, just a lot more of it.
So Jason, I love the fact that you talk about looking at the numbers, the fundamentals, really to really building a business and actually taking action, on the numbers, on exactly what you're seeing. Um, what percentage of shoppers did you bump up from the 299 retail for the primary, sort of product, the hair dryer, to your target 399? How easy was it? Was it 50-50? Was it a vast majority of the customer base? And how's that panning out on a long-term basis? Is there any subscription element to their business, or is it kind of like a one-time purchase of their products?
Yeah, man, that was like really a big challenge with this business is that they only had one product or they only have one product. They're working on some other products. So it makes it really difficult to get that lifetime value up, right? Like it's once they come in, they kind of come in. What's been interesting, and I'm glad you asked this question because what's been really interesting, and forgive me if I don't answer it exactly as you envisioned, but what we because you hear a lot of people talking about like don't discount your products, discounting it, that's lazy, all right, fine, whatever. But what's been interesting, man, is like as the product has been having supply chain issues, we've been able to increase the price because of supply and demand. So it was at 299 and then COVID happened and then the supply chain issues happened. And then we started saying like, okay, this is an opportunity to start increasing the price because and it's funny, we weren't doing it artificially. We were like, we need people to stop buying this thing. And we know that as we bring that price point from 299 up, it starts changing the amount of sales and volume that we get.
Yeah.
What was really interesting, and I don't think this will work once things go back to normal. I believe that $2.99 price point is going to be where we need to be, but right now it's working. We slowly increased the price. So $2.99 went to $3.49 or $3.29. I don't remember the exact jump. But as we started getting lower and lower inventory levels, we started continually bringing that price up so that people would stop buying. And obviously, the interesting part about that is that the revenue kind of stays the same.
Mm.
And I we found that we lose about 50% of our orders when we start, raising the price, but the sales numbers are kind of like the same.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
a really interesting.
Yeah.
That was really interesting
And
for us.
it probably gives you insights towards, okay, perhaps you can create a premium product that would not necessarily be as appealing to a vast majority of our customer base, but some people will be willing to spill out the cash anyway. And then you just flip back to the old pricing or something slightly higher than the old pricing, and then you're serving sort of two groups of customers for at two different price points, I guess.
Well, we did have two different. There's actually another one that they sell that was $4.99. So,
Mm,
but that was really just like a package of other things. So
mm,
we do have like two versions of the product. One is $3.99. The other one was $4.99.
mm,
Um, but it was really just adding things to it that you get for free,
mm,
like one of the things was like this wand holder. It kind of like holds the wand that you use on your hair, and that kind of holds it on the table. That was like part of the like the package, the more expensive package. So we did those kind of things, but now they're coming out with other products that you can use with their device. So we're starting to become more of a brand here, and that we got some funding and that kind of thing. So that's kind of, you know, uh, you know, kind of moving that ball forward a little quicker. But what's even crazier, I think, than all of that is that it leaves an opportunity to, like, with a device like this, where like we can come out with like a second device if we wanted to, maybe make it a little smaller, a little lighter, or those sort of things. And then the people who love the first version can get on a list to buy the second version. You can do those kind of things. So
mm, mm.
yeah.
And what do you think? What's the stack? What were the channels you relied on to really stimulate growth? Was it, yeah? What was what?
So I think you have to look at your business at and look at it, right. We tend to think that everybody on our email list acts the same and is the same person, but there are segments of your list that do things differently, right? Like they have different buying patterns. So most of what we do is just test. So what we've been doing a lot of lately is lead generation from Facebook to an email list. And then what we do is we'll send out some offers, and we'll send out some blogs, and we'll send out some like other material about, like, hair tutorials and that sort of thing. And so what we've been doing is getting people on the email list and then kind of warming them up through email.
Mhm,
That's for two reasons. Number one, we didn't have any devices. But number two, people tend to buy at different times. And,
mm,
you know, you don't really have to look too far to, figure that out. I mean, we could send an email like right now. Let's just say right now it is 10 a.m. East Coast time, Eastern. I could send an
mhm,
email right now, and let's say I make $5,000 from that email. And that same email can go out tonight at 8 o'clock. And the same person that bought at night skipped it in the morning, and they somehow, like, 8 hours changed their buying decision, right? Like they didn't buy it when I sent it at 10 a.m., but I sent it at 10 p.m. and for some reason they bought from that email, right? So, and the only difference is time or timing, right? Like how many times if you look at an email when you're sitting at the doctor or you're doing something and you're like, oh, I can't really look at this right now, and then you get the same or a similar email the next morning when you're sitting on your couch on a Saturday watching cartoons with your kid. Now you're like, oh, okay, now this is the right time. So we tend to we've focused a lot more recently on our email growth, our email list growth, and SMS. That's another big thing that we're doing is SMS. So to get to your original question, um, focusing on that email list has been huge. We definitely see front end sales from Facebook, but the people who don't, the people that aren't hyper buyers, we like to get them on the email list, and that's kind of what we did. I mean, we grew that email list like probably to like I don't know 100,000, something like that. And
Okay.
so yeah.
Okay, let's break it down. So, from what I'm hearing, you're buying traffic largely from Facebook, Instagram, and sales is not your primary objective. Your primary objective is the collection of emails, and you nurture those emails till a sale is squeezed over time, and essentially that is the funnel. Now, any other thing could replace Facebook in the long term. What I want to do is kind of break down and go into to the details. On Facebook, what are your objectives? Are they still conversion driven? Are they email conversion driven? Do you collect leads on Facebook, or would you get them pixeled on your website and then start to collect emails?
So I like to make everything simple. And when I hear people telling me to do something one way, I tend to not believe it and I'll just test it for myself because um there are variables, right? Like when someone's on your email list and they know who you are and you send out an email to them and they buy, like how do you teach that? Like, okay, get somebody on your email list and send them emails, let them start liking you, and then they'll buy from you at some point. Like, you can't really scale that. You really can't teach that. So I tend to just like to test things. And I found that the simpler I am on Facebook, the better my results are. And what I mean by that is, excuse me, I don't do the pixeling thing unless they're on my website. And by then, I'm trying to get them on the email list. So if if we get them to the website and we get them to give us their email address, if they don't buy, we'll then take that email list and upload it to Facebook and try to retarget the list on Facebook. But I've never, I mean, it does. I mean, one of our clients was $100 million brand. I've never, and I know people are going to say that I'm crazy and I'm wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about, but I've never seen a scenario where a business at even $100 million a year had to or ran out of new people to market to, where that pixeling made sense for the short term, right? Like I've just never seen it. I've never seen like someone like talking about all these sales funnels. Like, okay, top of the funnel, we're gonna pixel these people. Middle of the funnel, we're gonna do this. And I've never seen that work. I've never seen anyone show me that that works. Right? Like, I know people talk about it. I know everybody talks about it. I've never seen it work. It's never worked for me. It's never worked with the brands that are doing 100 million. It's never like that I've seen. So I don't really do that stuff. I keep it very simple. Have an ad. Well, all right. Let me start. Let me not start over, but I'll give us our secret. What most brands do is they create a Facebook ad. They have multiple creative, multiple copy, all this like complex these complex campaign structures, and top of the funnel, you're just trying to get them to know your brand. The middle of the funnel, they're a little bit warmer, so you can start introducing them to the product. And then the warm people, you do whatever you want with them, whatever. What we do is kind of like the opposite. We find an offer that works. So we create an irresistible offer, we put it out into the universe, and when we get the offer to work, then we start testing photos and copy and all these other things. Because the truth is, people think that Facebook is responsible for your sales when it's really your offer that's responsible for your sales. And everybody wants to blame Facebook. It's not Facebook's fault that you don't know how to sell your product, right? Like, so we find an offer. Once it's working, then what we're doing is we're just trying to tighten it up with the new photos, with the new creative, with the new copy. So we do it backwards. So like I never have to worry about like if my ads are working or not. I know the offer works, and if it's not working, then it's not a good offer. So we kind of do it backwards. So once we get that working, once we get the offer working and we know it works, now it's just a matter of figuring out the right process that gets us the lowest or the most return. Sometimes that's email. Sometimes that's giving a coupon for $100. Sometimes that's whatever. It doesn't really matter, but I have this offer that I know works, and then I just kind of tighten it up by testing a lot of different things.
Super, super interesting. Okay, so um, what about the objective on Facebook? Is it conversions? Is it leads? How do you how yeah what is the Facebook campaign objective?
Yeah, so I guess like the allure of Facebook was their ability to put your ad in front of people who are interested in the topic, who have shown interest in the topic, and it was getting a lot of high returns because of their ability to do that. And
Mm,
that is, defining what a conversion is, and traffic, and a sale, and all those things, right? That was the power of Facebook,
mhm.
at least for the novice, right? For the pros, they use it as a tool, right? Like we use Facebook as a tool to get attention. Um, Whereas people use Facebook to build like the backbone of their business, which I never ever recommend, because when Facebook makes these changes, it kind of screws everything up. Whereas for us, it doesn't really change much. Um, but lately, what we've been doing is um, a conversion, and not necessarily a purchase conversion, because Facebook really can't figure that out anymore. I like to do like just conversions to, like, say, a thank you page, which will, like, a lead, so to speak. I was
Okay.
trying not to use lead because they have a lead objective. I don't use the
Hmm.
lead
No.
objective. I use the
Use
conversion objective.
So you create a conversion, a custom conversion related to a URL hit, which is the thank you page you land on when you subscribe as an email. Obviously, so what kind of email conversion rates would you deem good email conversion rates from your experience and perspective?
So good for me really depends on the problem you're solving, right? And again, I like to keep everything as simple as possible. Like, to me, I can't like these gurus that make everything so freaking complicated. It just never worked for me. Um, so I I like to keep things simple. So like my landing page for like a lead gen is literally just like a form with like a title and a little message. And I'm getting like conversions. I'm getting email addresses for my golf business for under $2. I mean, it changes from day to day. Mondays
Hmm.
seem to be a really bad day for all my ads.
Hmm.
Monday's just a bad day. But on a good day, on a normal day, it's usually like under $2. Now,
Okay.
if you do it right, that's where it should be. Most people don't do it right. Most people don't understand that, like, and this is, I learned this. I am studying copywriting. It's something that, like, it's my next evolution in my learning marketing has been copywriting. So like I'm reading all the copywriting books, the Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards, and How to Write Copy That Sells by I'm sorry. Yeah, Jim Edwards and Ray Edwards. Um, and what they said in both of these books that really stood out to me that I have been doing for a really long time, I just didn't know I was doing it. And that is, um, people think that selling and copywriting is an art of persuading people to buy something that they don't want. When in fact, copywriting and sales is actually just giving people who need your product, or just convincing people that your product is what they need to solve their problem. It's a completely different mind shift, right? Like
Yeah.
when you say to yourself, like, wait, I'm not trying to convince people who don't need what I'm selling to buy from me, and all I'm trying to do is convince them that my product can solve their problem instead. It changes the way you think of everything.
Yeah.
And when you have a product that actually solves a problem that people are desperately looking to solve, getting people on your email list is a really easy thing. A really
Mm.
easy thing. Um, like I said, my golf landing page is literally a form with a title and like 2 sentences, because my ad has pre-framed them where they just want what I'm offering. They don't really care what the landing page looks like. They just want the thing.
Mm.
If you can do that, like we've done with the golf business, like we've done with the wildlife photography business, like we've done with the hair care product, we've done that with all of them. And it's really easy to get people on your list. I mean,
Mm.
you know, $2.50 or less per conversion.
Mm. And then finally, in from the email piece, so the email collection piece, do you ever use exit intent, pop-ups, or are they predominantly landing pages?
This is like a whole this goes back to your data, looking at your
Mm.
data, because it depends. It depends on if you're heavy mobile users, or if you're heavy desktop users, or if people are buying from desktop rather than mobile, right? Because people do research on their mobile device and then they buy on their desktop device. So, or on their desktop. So you have to know that data and understand that data, because if nobody's coming to your website with on a computer, then an exit intent is going to do nothing for you. So
Mm.
like I said, I always look at the data. I'm always looking at who I have coming to the website, what devices they're using, and then I make that determination from there. But something that's really been working well for us for years is giving a special discount for the person's first order only. So if somebody comes to the website, there's a pop-up that says get 20% off your first order, right? Because you don't want them to be able to use this coupon over and over and over. So you're only going to allow them to use it for their first order. That has worked like crazy. What has worked even better is putting the product out of stock when we didn't have any more. And that was growing our email list exponentially. Thousands of people a day were coming on our
Mm.
email list
Mm.
with that strategy.
Super, super interesting. And then the final piece is the email piece. So do you take what is the ratio of like email flows, automated, pre-built automated email flows, based on actions versus campaigns, just continuous campaigns. Email frequency is very important. I found, particularly from a brand recall standpoint, it's so funny that the more I this is anecdotal, but the more I see a brand, on my email on a regular basis, the more likely that when I'm in buy mode, they come top of mind more than any other channel, in my opinion. So I'll give you an example. Flowers. There's a brand called is it Bloom and Wild in the UK. I get lovely when they send us emails. I just expect to see a lovely, well laid out, email, and it's quite often the frequency is, I'd say, 2 or 3 times a week. But anytime I'm thinking about like buying flowers, they come top of mind. But yeah, so my question just is really the ratio. How you thinking, particularly from a revenue standpoint, how to structure flows versus campaigns in prep for that conversion, essentially.
Yeah, that's another good question, because I think this is another area where people have been misled. Um, you can take 1,000 people, stick them into a flow, and then take that same 1,000 people and send them just a campaign, right? So a flow is automated and a campaign is just a one-off campaign email.
It's a blast.
And that
Yeah.
that one-off email will outperform the flow every single time. I don't know why. I don't know the reasoning. It's just that's what we see. That campaigns will outperform flows. Now, does that mean I don't use flows? Absolutely not. I definitely use flows, but I use them for things that are not necessarily the driver of the revenue. So what I mean by that is, when we're trying to make money, we use campaigns. When we're doing things like um cart abandonment or welcome flows, or we're trying to sell our customers something that is related to the product that we purchased or we sold them, so like an accessory or something, that may go through a flow. For instance, this hair product needs a filter to be changed, so we'll have a flow that automatically sends them a filter email after a year or two, whatever. Birthday flows, like we get creative with those sort of things, and those are the things that you can't send as one-off emails. But we the interesting thing is, the hair drying company, we had to stop sending emails because we were making too many sales with them. But uh, another tip that I learned from these copywriters is that they said, if you send emails that people want to read, you can email them every day, and that's what we try to do. We try to send emails that they want to read almost every day.
Mm, mm. Right. Okay, Jason. I, it's fascinating, and I'm glad we're on the same page. I've preached micro conversions for a long time on this pod. Just that important. I mean, even if you're looking to sell your business, one of the assets an acquirer would look at will be your email list. How many people are you talking to? How many people? How much attention does your brand have? And it's intangible and tangible at the same time. And just seeing that it is the new profit center to de-risk against the lack of data and volatility of Facebook is very, 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 very fascinating. I could go on and on, conversing with you because you have a lot to share. But before I let you go, what would be your final parting piece of advice to listeners who happen to be operators of e-commerce businesses for the rest or the remainder of 2022?
I think about this a lot because I start businesses often, as often as I can. I start businesses, and I pay attention to the process. I pay attention to how difficult it is, to get that first sale as opposed to that 2000th sale.
Mm,
And I like to look at, like, what are the factors in that, right? Like, what are the factors in, um, the 2000th sale compared to the first sale? And if you're an operator and you're just starting out, or you're an operator and you're making, whatever, $500,000 a year, or whatever, to that person, um, I would say, all of life including business, is about experience and process. What what you can do in day two, 1,000 in your business after you've been collecting emails on an email list, after you've been running Facebook ads, what you can do after 2 years is much different than what you can do day one, right? So what I would say is like embrace the process. There is going to be a process. You're not going. I mean, I've been doing this for years and years and years, and yes, my new golf business, I launched it like a few weeks ago, and it's already making sales. But that's only because I've been doing it for 17 years and failing. That I kind of understand now the process that I need to go through to get people to take their credit card out and buy. So for that person, I would say patience. Like just enjoy the process. Don't try to rush it because you're not going to be able to force it. You got to go through the process and learn. See what your customers, how they want to buy. You know, people fall in love with their email list and are scared to email them because they're worried about what people are going to say. Well, let's look at this logically. You have 100 people on your email list. 10 or 20% of those people open. So 10 people open. Let's call it 15 people or 20 people open the email. Now you're going to get 2% of those people clicking through. I mean, you're not talking about huge numbers, right? Like in that scenario, you need time. You need to figure out things. So, don't be afraid to offend your email list. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but don't be afraid to send them so many emails that they're annoyed because that's how you learn. You learn, um, I was just sending out emails with my golf business and I saw the open rate started dipping a little bit. And I started looking at the topics I was sending. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to change this a little bit. Boom. I changed the subject line to something a little bit different. And all of a sudden the open rate jumped. So don't be afraid to test those things because the truth of the matter is people don't really give a crap about you. And you think that they're hanging on every word in your email when literally they're looking at it on their phone for seconds. So don't be afraid to test things. Don't be afraid to go through the process and understand that it's not going to happen overnight. You got to learn. You have to figure things out. You have to see what your customers want, how they want it, what they want to see, and all you can do is time. Or all that. The only way to get there is through time. To the guy looking for his 2,000th order or his 5,000th order or his 10,000th order, I would say just do a little bit more of what you're doing because, at the end of the day, we are infatuated with thinking that there is this this thing out there like that nobody can really touch and feel, like this destination, which we call scaling. But really, it's just, as I said, just doing more of what you're doing. So I would say, like, keep doing what you're doing. Just now, you maybe want to go on a different platform. You're on Facebook, maybe try YouTube. You're on YouTube, maybe try Pinterest. Explore a little bit. When you have an offer that works, I see it normally working on all the platforms. It's just how you get that product in front of people changes, but the offer still works. So maybe you want to expand to other platforms if you're looking for your 5,000th order. But yeah, I mean that would be my long advice, my long-winded advice to both of those people.
No worries at all. As I said, we could go on and on and on, but yeah, it's been an incredible conversation. We'll definitely touch base again. For people who want to find out more, about what you do, they should head over to eCommerce You run a fantastic podcast with your partner Kevin. You give unique insights, and as the title of your podcast, implies, it is truly uncensored. Doesn't feel, polished, and that's not. And I wouldn't. That's not a bad thing at all. It is really straight from the source, right? Right, unadulterated e-commerce, value essentially. Jason, do you hang out on any social media channels? Are you active on social, or are you working all day?
I'm working all day, but if people have questions, they can certainly email me at jason
Okay.
at eCommerceUncensored.com. I'm happy to answer any questions specifically about this talk. I know that I have a tendency of kind of going all over the place. It's just kind of how my brain works. So if anybody needs me to clarify anything, they have a question, they can certainly reach out. And your comment about us being kind of like, you know, on whatever the word you use about being, I guess you said not like, doesn't seem produced or whatever. That's what we were going for. We're trying to make it conversational. We're trying to make it not theoretical. We try to talk about exactly what we're going through. And look, sometimes the things we talk about work for people and other times it doesn't. There's a lot of variables, price point, product, time of year. I mean, there's a war going on right now in Ukraine that is distracting people. There's a whole bunch of things that could be happening. So we try to talk about the things that are working and not working for us.
It's raw stuff, raw and good stuff. It's organic.
Absolutely raw.
Organic.
Yes, absolutely raw. In fact, we don't know
Jason,
what we're talking about until we get on.
Exactly. Fantastic. Jason, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the 2x e-commerce podcast show. Thank you.
Thank you.